Hi, welcome to episode 3 of our lovely popular podcast. Music is none of our business. This week we've decided to be modern and we've picked our favourite albums from the first half of the year. We have 10 each. I guarantee that you won't have heard of some of mine. I can pretty much guarantee no one will have fucking heard of any of yours. Just
It is going to be fascinating.
I'm really intrigued to see what you've picked because I know your tastes kind of run to probably even more obscure than mine,
Well,
really.
I'm equally anticipating hearing what you're listening to this first
Yeah.
6 months of the year.
I'm looking forward to some more Icelandic nomenclature from you.
Maybe, maybe not.
Okay. Do you want to start? I'll let you
I
start
can
this
do.
time if you want.
Yeah, not a problem. So, okay, number one on my list, and this isn't again in any particular order. It's 10 great albums that I've got from this year, but it's not number one is the best, for example. But number one is
Fair
a
enough.
darn good album anyway. It's Instant Holograms on Metal Film by Stereolab.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
so
wondered whether you. I had a feeling that might pop up. I was very close to putting that in my list.
yeah,
I've got to admit, I thought it was excellent.
they're a
I
good
really.
band. They're a great band.
But it's more. You carry on. You carry on.
But okay, well, Stereolab, for the uninitiated, they've been around for a while, over 30 years, in fact, which seems bloody incredible. 30
Yeah, it does,
years,
doesn't it?
and they still sound so fresh to my ears, anyway.
Yeah.
Lots of lineups they've been through over that time. Sadly, in 2002, they lost one of the two girls in a pretty tragic road accident. So Mary Hansen. It was a road accident, wasn't it?
Yeah, she got knocked off a bike in London, I believe. I'm pretty sure it was London. Yeah, I remember seeing it at the time and being quite sad about that.
Yeah, yeah, it's quite a bad thing to happen to anybody, but clearly it was a bit of a blow for Stereolab. But they ploughed on. An Instant Hologram was written by two of the founding members, Letitia Sadier and Tim Gain. But it's the first proper album they've released for 15 years.
Mm,
Um, this period
yeah.
of semi-hiatus during which the band has been buggering around with reissues and compiling a couple of collections of previously unreleased stuff and other such faffing about. Reissues.
Very nice reissues as
Well, have
well.
you been buying them?
I've got a few of them. Yes, they all. Some of the later ones were done. People were buying them, and they were so popular they had to do a lottery for the last ones on the website. So you
Ah,
had to put your name in the hat, and luckily I got picked and got the last two. And I've got some of the other ones. They all had a scratch card as well, and you could scratch off and win various bits and bobs. And I didn't bloody win, so
you kind of everything. I did
I know.
wonder. I did wonder if there'd be Stereolab completists out there that were torching their bank accounts to acquire all the reissues. I'm not really sure I understand reissues fully because if the album was a classic in the first place, why do you need to buy it again?
I think from my point of view, I had a lot of the albums came out when I was going through more of a CD stage. I wasn't really
Ah, right.
buying vinyl, um, and it was remastered. And the remasters do actually sound a lot more. Well, I think they sound a bit more kind of spacious than the originals. I think a lot of them, and with a lot of music, the original mix was done for CD because of the time, and there was no proper vinyl mix, and vinyl is mixed differently. So I'm told. I don't
That's
really know
right.
the ins and outs. Lots of things were remastered. It was the same with the Crass reissues. I don't know whether you,
Yeah, I've got all those. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and
There I am.
they sound
There I am
absolutely
criticising
amazing.
people for rebuying, and I do it as well.
Yeah, yeah, hypocrite. Fuck's
You
sake,
caught me,
honestly.
caught me. Yeah, so okay, well, so they have been kind of doing this stuff in the background for 15 years, and I've got to admit that whilst I have loved Stereo Lab since the early 90s, and I've seen them a couple of times, I was a little bit trepidatious when the announcement was made that the new album was out, because when Stereolab make a great album, which they do more often than not, they make a great album, and they're
Mm,
brilliant. But when they
yeah,
make a duff one, there are a couple of albums that I just really don't like. So I was a little bit anxious.
yeah.
But within a few minutes of putting this on, I realised it was one of the better ones. It's not one of the classics, like transient random noise bursts with announcements, or Margarine Eclipse, Mars Audiac Quintet, or any of the Switched On series, which are all superb. But it's still a great album. All the elements are there: bubbling, fizzing, humming keyboards, unfussy motoric drum lines, Sadier's cool voice, great tunes. It's a good album, and
Yep.
well worth buying, even on CD, I would imagine.
I totally agree. I totally agree. I thought it was really good as well. So that's one we kind of agreed on.
We
So
we kind of agree. Do you think they
that's
sound
pretty good.
European, even if you set aside Letitia's propensity to sing
Oh,
in
totally.
French?
Yeah.
They've got
I
a
think
European feel, haven't they?
there's just something very French about it all.
Hmm.
The keyboards, it's I mean, what's the disco one?
The disco one.
Christ, I can't Yeah, there's one called something disco. I can't remember. But it just sounds French. It sounds like something that should have come from a French
Yeah,
movie. It was the soundtrack for a French movie in the 60s or 70s or something. I think that is definite theme throughout their music. It sounds old but current at the same time. And
yeah.
I think they do that really, really well. Really well.
Good. We have
Yeah.
no contention on number one then.
No, absolutely not. Well, I've gone for my number one is Lambrini Girls.
Ah, you
Uh,
mentioned those already, haven't you?
yes, I love Lambrini Girls. Who Let the Dogs Out? Um,
Oh,
and for anyone who doesn't know, they are a English punk band. Two girls, Phoebe and Lily, formed in Brighton, and they are fabulous. And the album, "Who Let the Dogs Out," is absolutely hilarious. They're so funny, and they cover everything in it, from homophobia, toxic masculinity, sexual harassment in the workplace, sexist coppers, nepo babies, eating disorders,
what's a
you name
nepo
it.
baby?
Nepo baby. That's like someone famous has a child, and said child gets their own fame and success just by being the son or daughter of said
So
celeb.
nepo is abbreviation for nepotism then.
Yes,
Oh,
indeed.
now I understand. I've heard
Such
the
as
phrase
a
mentioned a couple of times. Didn't bother to inquire what it meant.
Yeah, so like David Beckham's son can put out a book full of shit photos and go, "Oh, I'm a photographer." And it's like, no, you're not. You couldn't fucking, you can. It's like these photographs were dreadful.
Oh, you didn't buy it
I
then, did
remember
you?
looking. Sorry.
You didn't buy it?
No, I remember looking at it. I just looked at some of them and went, fuck me. I mean, Stevie Wonder could have taken better
Oh
photographs.
dear, oh dear.
So, that's how bad they were.
You're calling
But,
lawyers
yeah,
again.
yes, yeah, come on, Stevie, bring them on. Um, and yeah, they're just, and live, they are absolutely amazing. We went to Wide Awake Festival last year. That was the first time I saw them, and they were so good. I've seen them twice. I've been down to London a couple of times since to see them again. They just Phoebe spends more time in the crowd than on stage, organising mosh pits. Doing getting all the gay people to say they're proud to be gay out loud. It's just brilliant. It's such a good laugh. They're so funny. Although she is so scary as well.
Okay.
She scares the shit out of me. I wouldn't spill her pint. But yeah, I love Lambrini Girls. I'm hoping to go and see them again later in the year. They're playing down in London. I would recommend it to everybody.
Okay, and then
So
the title of that album, is that in any way a reference to the chart hit of some years
no,
ago?
I think it's more of a reference to the names that they get called by the lads.
Oh dear.
Who let the dogs out. I think it's just turning that back on the
Oh dear.
sexist tossers. But the gigs are really good natured fun, very inclusive. There's no animosity there. Everyone's there to have a good time. Be you 60-year-old straight white male like myself, or 14, 15-year-old lesbian punk girl, whatever.
Whatever.
It's a fantastic time.
Okay,
Fantastic. Yeah.
cool. I still have to look out for them and have a listen because you mentioned them
Yeah.
twice now, and
They're
I
really
can't
good.
say I've ever
I
had.
really like them. I really like them. I think they're fabulous.
Okie dokie. All right. Number 2 on my list, loud as loud can be. It's the Swans, or just Swans without the rather. Swans,
Oh,
and
yes.
earlier this year they released another double album. This one called Birthing.
Yes.
Um,
Listened to it. Liked it a lot.
did you
Thought
now?
it was great.
I didn't realise you
Yes.
were partial to a bit of the Swans.
Yes. I went to see them a couple of years ago at Troxy.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
Swans, for the uninitiated, again, New York band led by Michael Hira, and they've been around since the early 80s, and were initially amongst the loudest, most brutal of noise rock bands on the planet. Absolute volume was the hallmark of Swans' live performances. I'm certain at some point they had some kind of record for sound levels at a London gig, but I had a quick look on Tinternet the other day, and I think their record has now been superseded by lots of later shit bands, and Swan's
Yeah.
achievements been buried in the vaults of history. But loud
Yeah.
they were.
Didn't they once chain all the doors shut so the audience couldn't get out?
Possibly that's what Whitehouse did. Certainly, when I went to see Whitehouse, they changed the.
Perhaps I was, but perhaps I was. I saw a documentary about I think it was about the Mermaid pub
Oh yeah,
in Birmingham, where they had lots of gigs, and there was something along those lines about the Swans gig there.
could have been that one. I think they shut
Apparently
it
it
down
was,
after 30 minutes or something because it was too loud. But
yeah,
but that used to be very much their trademark. Not so much anymore. And they've changed style, they've changed lineup over the years. First Swans record I bought was in 1986. Time Is Money Bastard, which is a terrific, brutal, pummeling record. Came out the same year as the albums Greed and Holy Money, both of which I acquired through, drumroll, Keith's Records.
hooray!
But not necessarily by Keith, because the thing about Keith's Records was it wasn't only Keith that was there was Alan too. You remember
Alan,
Alan?
yes, I remember Alan.
And Alan, I think, similarly small c conservative to Keith, always
Yes,
besuited and so on. Probably, what was he, mid-30s or something? Very tall.
yes, I believe he was. We once washed his TR7 for
I
him
remember
and
that
waxed
happening.
it.
I didn't do it, but I can remember
Yeah,
that story, yeah.
yes.
So he's a nice chap, but again, he always had the semi-bemused look on his face whenever you ordered anything. but he was a good man. But anyway, yeah, over the
That should have
years,
been their logo. That should have been their logo. Keith's Records, constantly bemused.
never surprised, always bemused. Yeah, so Michael Gira, I think he has the finest male voice in modern rock music. It is so rich and so deep and so sonorous. It's tumbleweed and sawdust. It's smoke from the mill in the valley. It's a brilliant voice, and for nothing else, all of his side projects, whatever they may be, World of Skin and Angels of Light and all of that, his voice is just an absolute rock, foundation pillar in that. So Birthing, my copy of which, incidentally, has been signed by Michael Hira himself.
Ooh, get
Ooh,
you.
yes, is kind of like the latest in the sequence of the last 10 years of albums, where the absolute
Yeah,
volume has been replaced more with sonic repetition, the assault of repetition at
yes.
loud volumes.
They're still bloody loud live, I can
Still
tell you.
loud,
They
yeah, yeah.
rearranged a couple of my internal organs while I was standing in the shops and
And some would say that
watching
was
them.
probably a good as reason as any for them to play.
Yeah, they were very good.
Very good.
Very good.
Yeah, but there's only really Michael here who is of the original lineup. They've all kind of morphed and changed, and some come back and play for bits and pieces, and then don't. But Michael Hira is the man.
Yeah, I've actually got a Swans T-shirt that says it just says Swans, and then underneath it says "You fucking people make me sick." It's a great T-shirt. It's one of my favourites. One of my favourites.
Subtleties,
But,
not
yeah.
necessarily the strong point.
I actually bought my first Swans record came from Keith's Records. It was called I think it was called "Raping a Slave."
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
And that was pretty thunderous as well.
yeah.
When would that have been? 83,
That would have been
84?
yeah, that would have been kind of tight, kind of round Cop and that kind of area, wouldn't it? So it
Yeah.
would have been 84, something like that.
Awesome. So that's Swans. So my next one I have spoken about before. I won't go on too much about this. My next one was Lifeguard, Ripped and Torn. Mentioned that in the first podcast. Three skinny young Chicago dudes who make a lovely kind of spiky post-punk racket. I thought they sounded like Mets. Do you remember Mets? METZ?
No,
Kind of a noise punk band from the last 10 years or so, who are really good. I
I don't
thoroughly
know if
recommend
your age
them.
you're allowed to use the
But
word dudes anyway.
I can say dudes if I want to. Chaps.
Young
Three skinny
gentlemen.
Chicago and chaps who play. Yeah, and weirdly, every review I see of Lifeguard mentions other, but no one's mentioned Mets. Like, I'm quite. I don't know if it's just. I keep thinking, am I missing something?
You're missing a lot,
Why does
mate.
no one else then? I thought they've never heard of Mets, but it's very much. I mean, it is very eclectic. I mean, I'm probably just listening to certain bits, going, "Oh, Mets," But there's lots of kind of new wavy, kind of a modified new wavy sound to them. I saw them in London a few weeks ago, and they were fabulous live. They're the ones who did the cover of "In the City" by the Jam.
All right.
Which was they did a really good cover of it. Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed that. So that was a quick skip over Lifeguard because I don't want to go on about the same band over and over. So over to you for number 3.
Okay, number 3, released only last month, but thoroughly excellent. It's an album called Shellwave by Surgeon.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Have you heard it?
I didn't even know it coming. I saw someone mention it yesterday. I thought, bloody hell, I haven't listened to that, and I was going to listen to it, and then obviously I forgot. I haven't got around to it. But yes, I love Surgeon.
There's so much that's coming out all the time, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's a job to keep up with it all.
Yeah.
But Shellwave is minimal electronic techno. Surgeon,
Yes.
also known as Anthony Child, he has been working in this sphere for many, many years. And he's a habitual collaborator. He's worked with Regis, who is one of my very favourite stripped down basic techno acts, and
Sandwell
British Murder
District.
Boys. Sorry?
Sandwell District.
Yeah,
Regis.
absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
British Murder Boys as well, who are great. And this is techno without all the frills and better for it. Don't get me wrong, I do have quite a lot of techno albums. I like techno music, but things like
Is that because you're down with the kids?
I didn't say that. You're coming over far too surfy tonight. Far too surfy.
I'm just asking.
It's in this warm weather. You've gone all Beach Boys or something. I'm a little bit concerned, you need a cold flannel on your head and just go down.
Sorry, I'll try not to be so bitching and rad, man.
Surgeon, there's no lush sweeping synths, there's no guitars, there's no hysterical female wailing, nothing but the insistent pounding, pulsing rhythm of everything. It's all just ducking and diving through filters and processors with bits and pieces of electronic debris and distorted sounds crashing in and going out and spinning around and getting chucked out again. It's all about rhythm and structure and filtering. And like Swans, I think repetition is bloody marvelous. You can take any sound, and if you play it over and over and over again, it really gets under your skin. It really gets sonically transformative. And I think that bands like Regis and Surgeon and so on, I think they're exactly the same but the precise opposite of bands like Whitehouse and Merzbow and the like, because whereas Regis and Surgeon and so on, it's all about the rhythm. There's virtually nothing else. Everything is a rhythm, and it's very pure and very this is what it is. Whereas Whitehouse and Merzbow, there's no rhythm. It's all about acres and acres of sound and noise, and it's again very pure, very sure of what it is. It's just the other side of the coin. One's all purely one thing and one's all purely the other.
Yeah, I do like Surgeon. I've got some old CDs somewhere, I think. Yeah, I had that's it's. I mean, that's all from our love of electronics, isn't it? I mean, the techno. Yeah. I love that kind of thudding, repetitive. I find it really quite soothing.
It can be transcendental, uplifting, meditative.
Yes, absolutely. And then bang it through a subwoofer and, all your pots and pans start rattling and the cats run off into the other room. That's always quite good fun as well. So, not if I talk to my cats or anything.
No, I think I'll edit that bit out because that would well, I won't.
So that was number 3, wasn't it? My number 3 is Mogwai.
Right.
The Bad Fire, of course. My probably my favourite current band, Mogwai. I absolutely adore them. Since I think the first LP came out in '97, Young Team, and just that whole. I mean, they do the quiet, loud thing better than anybody I know. I mean, they go from like where you can hear a pin drop to all of a sudden it's like Apocalypse Now, amazing. This is, I can't remember, I think this might be their 15th album. Should have done a bit of research on that. Mogwai is the only thing here. I got blank because I thought, I'll just talk about Mogwai.
Spin it all off, yeah.
But it's a really, really excellent LP. In all honesty, I am a fan, as I said, and I am biased. I don't think they've ever really done a bad LP. They do multiple soundtracks. The soundtracks are all top quality. I think you're guaranteed a really good record when you buy anything by Mogwai. And as I say, live, they're just peerless. I mean, you've until you see Mogwai Fear Satan live, you just haven't seen anything where they get, like I say, they go from that pin drop to, oh my God, they just blew my arse out in a millisecond. It's so loud. But it's just fabulous. It's just like really delicate music, but played at an extraordinary volume. I saw them. I saw them at Brixton Academy this year, and it was just amazing. And the gigs are phenomenal. I'm hoping to go again later in the year. They're playing Crystal Palace, so I'm going to put. I put all these things in? Like I'm going to go as if someone from Mogwai might listen and go. Send me some free tickets. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Let's put him on the VIP guest list because he said such nice things about us.
Somewhat optimistic. Well, as if you filmed them after midnight.
I imagine they turn into Take That. I guess I don't know, something horrific.
Quick, well done.
Something horrific. So that was my number 3. Without as much detail as you, but you've obviously sat down. You've got more spare time than me because you've retired. So I had to do this in between doing work today. I was
Work, I
typing up
remember that.
notes, because the first I've got to admit the first couple I've done without notes. And I do find myself floundering occasionally. So I did actually write some things down this time, because I found myself because I'd forgotten the fucking drummer from Lush last week. I was so embarrassed. I did remember in the end,
Mm.
although we did have to craftily edit that back.
You've given
I've
away
got,
our secrets.
hands up to that one. So I did write things down this time, but I didn't write anything for Mogwai. I thought, I know all about Mogwai. I'll be fine. I'll just wing it. And I couldn't remember what fucking number album
Yeah,
this
I don't
was.
think we're quite ready for live podcasts, are
I
we?
don't think we are. No, I don't. Radio One aren't going to come knocking just yet. Oh, we've never had anyone to take over, and John Peel, you'd be ideal, you two mentors.
My number
Yes.
4 is an album called Theme, and it's by Bartosz Ziados. And I'm not 100% certain on the pronunciation of his name, because whilst I enjoy his music, I've never heard anybody else mention his name. I've never heard it said.
See, I'd have been much more professional, and I would have looked that up on the internet, as I did for my next choice.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that is a bit disappointing.
Well,
that
I
you
do
just
apologise,
made
but
that up.
whilst being retired does give loads and loads of time, I tend to fill it up with loads and loads of other things. So, yes, it looks very much like Bartosz Ziados.
I would guarantee there's some shh sounds in there somewhere. So he's a Bartosz.
It could be.
Bartosz.
It could be.
Yeah.
It ends in OSZ, so it could be Bartosz
One of those
Ziados.
names that looks like someone's dropped a handful of Scrabble letters on the floor and
With very
they've just
few,
arranged themselves.
mainly consonants, yeah. The musician himself is a philosopher. He curates the Moscow label Drona IVM, which is a great label. Specializes in electronic soundscapes, drones, noise, and the like. And they have a huge catalogue of that stuff. Do quite often limited edition cassettes, short run cassettes, which are beautifully packaged, but it's great to be getting cassettes. So I've got a
Yes.
few of those, and
I've got a few cassettes as well.
yeah,
Did,
it's all coming round.
is it something that Keith Records would have stocked?
Well, I
Just
think they
out
would
of
have stocked.
curiosity?
They would have stocked plenty. Did they stock cassettes? I can't remember. Where were the cassettes?
Cassettes were at the back. But where the counter was, there was a wall on the back, and the cassettes were there, weren't they?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because it got all the LPs and that at the front, and
Yeah. I can
God.
picture it. I can picture it now like it was yesterday.
Yeah,
I can even picture Alan and Keith,
yeah.
standing there.
Looking
Oh,
bemused.
I've got all moist
Oh,
eyes.
no,
Moist
no,
eyes
no.
now.
Anyway,
With nostalgia.
Xenon.
Oh, Keith, wherefore art thou, Keith?
Oh, you'd have to see if you can track them down and tell them that they
Yeah.
have become minor celebrities outside their own outside their own sphere. But yeah, back to Ziadosh. Very excellent music, very evocative, cinematic quality. A lot of his music is composed in relation to theatre projects and film projects, and I think Theme may have been as well, although I don't really know. But it's beautiful, haunting soundscapes, electronic, a lot of noise and background fuzz and stuff. The composer himself says he's composed it in response to melancholy and pathos. I don't know whether that's in his life and he's a miserable bastard, or whether that's an emotion he's just sought to articulate in sound. But it works very
Was
well.
that a duo who won Opportunity Knocks back in '74? Melancholy and
Huey Green and his clapometer. Oh dear, oh dear. Yes. Okay, but yes, I mean, so this album, so it all seems to be built from electronics and synths, although there are certainly the sound of strings and piano, but I'm not sure if that's synthetic. It's quite difficult to tell these days because the software has got so bloody good at mimicking stringed instruments and orchestral instruments and ethnic instruments and anything. But it sounds great. It's all very much for anybody who is seeking to immerse themselves in an hour of delicious misery and disassociation. Put it on, switch the lights out, close the curtains, and drift off into a mental ocean of solitude.
fabulous. Yeah, an hour of misery. I'll just fucking log on for work, I think. That should do
There's
the trick.
misery in an uplifting kind of way.
Oh, okay. Well, I won't log on for work then. That's never going to happen. Excellent. So that was number four, wasn't it?
It was.
So my number four is Jenny Val.
Oh, right.
Who
Another one you've mentioned already.
I did quickly mention her last week because she's on
She's
4AD.
on 4AD, yeah.
And that was before I researched because she has a silent H in
Yeah.
front of her name. So I said Jenny Val, and it's actually Jenny Val.
Okay.
But yes, as I said last week, she's Norwegian, and it's basically kind of, I don't know, it's ambient, arty pop. Really, she's got a gorgeous voice. It really is a lovely, relaxing hour. No, not much misery and despair. So I think you'd feel quite you've been quite annoyed about that. And it's called Iris Silver Mist, and it's named after a fragrance invented by Serge Lutens.
Oh,
And it's a really, really good LP, electronic, as I say, kind of ambient-y pop. Well worth a listen.
does it
So,
sound like a fragrance?
well, weirdly, do you know, I've listened to it a lot because a lot of what I've picked, I kind of went on Last FM and just looked at what I'd listened to the most this year, and then kind of looked through what I'd bought that isn't on there, because there are a couple of things on here. There's at least one on here that's not on any streaming platforms. So I do tend to stream just because it's easier. And I've listened to it a lot, and I can't say that it made me. I wasn't sitting there going, "What's that smell?" You know. So I don't know if the fragrance thing, worked that well, but I would thoroughly recommend it. And as usual, we'll pick tracks of what we can find, or I'll pick a track from each of these records, and we'll put them on Spotify so you can all have a listen.
Indeed.
So that was my number four. So number five, we're cracking on nicely.
Cracking on. So number five then, for me, an album called In Darkness Let Me Dwell by the Italian composer Alessandro Barbanera. He's a composer, an artist, and he makes his own guitars as well. And what he does is in sonic experiments, drones, tapes, and electronics. In Darkness Let Me Dwell is a soundtrack to an imaginary film noir, in his own words. It's all shifting electronic waves, distant tones and static. It's like what I'd imagine it to be like if you were adrift on a misty sea, on a crewless sail ship, in the dark and fog, all alone, and the ship creaking, and it's very nice. Again, it's not one for cheering you up a great deal.
Yeah, I didn't want to point out what a miserable track you are, but you can't. You're doing it for me, really. I don't think I need to make any further comment, do I?
It is lovely though. The thing about it is, it's got a whole feeling of decay and dissolution. And I've always loved the sound of inherent weaknesses in the tools that people use to make music. The interesting thing is that for decades, musicians and producers struggled to produce and create without the distraction of tape saturation and wow and flutter and hiss and all of that kind of stuff. But now, in the 21st century, there's huge numbers of people who are buying up lots and lots of sophisticated technology to make digital music sound old. And I do get it, because that digital, pure, clean sound, it's very unhuman and unnatural. And I think for me, that destroyed sound, the bit of a hiss and a crackle and so on, it's got a much more of a breath in it, much more life in it. It's much more human.
Yeah, I know exactly. I totally agree with that. Yeah. I suppose it's like listening to your old records, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I always when I listen to reggae, I listen to lots and lots of reggae, and listening to it on streaming sites, it's it sounds great, that the bass sounds great, but reggae records are meant to have. I mean, some of the state of some of those Jamaican presses.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just crackles, pops, bumps, and the records look awful. They've got little pits in them where they recycled the vinyl, but it's kind of part of it's part of the love affair with reggae is to get that crackling,
Yeah.
and it's lovely to hear it. I mean, it's great hearing it on CD or something, but you can't quite beat hearing it directly from vinyl.
No, no. It's funny, isn't it? We grew up with cheap as shit kind of anarcho punk records that were getting knocked out. We thought they
Yeah,
were brilliant, and then
yeah, and playing them
somewhere.
on their mum's music
That's
centre as
right.
well.
And
You
played them
know,
so many times that they were worn to shit. Carried them round to mates' houses in
yeah.
rucksacks and stuff. They weren't about the quality of the artifact itself. It was about the sound and the feel and the rawness, and you can get all of that energy without slick production and pristine digitization and quantization and all of that kind of stuff.
I read a really interesting article about old records, because whenever you pick up an old record in a charity shop, I mean, most of them, they're very rarely pristine,
Hmm.
and they have people's names written on them. And I was reading that it's because when those records, like a Led Zeppelin record, for example, it wasn't bought to be collected. It
Yeah,
was bought to be listened to, taken to parties. If you lost it, you lost it.
yeah,
If the sleeve got bent up, it got bent up. If the record got scratched, it got scratched. You'd still play it to death.
yeah, yeah.
And there wasn't so much. It wasn't bought as a an investment. It was just bought as something to enjoy.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
My 12-inch copy of Cabaret Voltaire's Nag Nag Nag, which I still have, is as battered as arseholes because I
Yeah.
used to get asked to take it to every bloody party and disco because nobody else had it or could get hold of it. And it's
Yeah.
well knackered. But the beauty of it is it's a corrupt, degraded, and decayed, messy sound anyway, so it doesn't really
It will
matter.
exactly. Okay, so number five. Number five for me was by Ethel Kane, and it's called Perverts. Now, Ethel
Okay.
Kane was introduced. I was introduced to Ethel Kane by my daughters, Lily and Annie, and Ethel Kane's a trans woman from America, in her 20s, I believe, and released a record that was kind of indie folk, kind of dark gothic LP.
You're
Um,
weaving all over the place here. I'm trying to
yeah,
grab a handle on what the fucking hell you're talking about.
it
I can't
was.
picture this one.
It was really interesting. But her sec, but so by doing that, she kind of got herself a following of mainly young girls, of Lily and Annie's age, late mid late teens to mid 20s, I should think. And I know Lily went to see her. Lily's seen her two or three times now, and just introduced me to, and I thought it was great. Well, anyway, she in between her main releases, she released Perverts, and Perverts is basically drone noise, dark ambient
Oh,
LP.
right. It wasn't
And
where I thought you were going to go.
no, well, it wasn't where I thought she was going to go. I think Lily had an inkling that this was what was going to happen, because she'd hinted that this was the kind of music she was really into. But after this first LP, The Preacher's Daughter, this came out and kind of split her fan base down the middle. I mean, Lily listened to it and said, "Not really my cup of tea." There are a couple of kind of the her trademark, really light, kind of folky songs on there.
Oh.
But the rest of it is screeching, drones. I'd absolutely loved it. I just thought it was amazing. Lily kind of appreciated what she was trying to do and said, she just needed to get it off her chest, and released this record. And as she said, there's all these girls on the boards going, "Oh, it's the greatest thing I've ever heard." And she said, "I know they all think it's shit, but they have to, they have to like it." And she said, "It's like Ethel Kane has made a record for our weird dads." And I'm like, I took that as a compliment.
You would. It sounds a bit
You know,
discombobulating. So if you're getting lost in some drones and noise, and then suddenly up pops a folk song of some sort.
it's not a folk song. I say a folk song because I can't. It's acoustic. Acoustic is probably a better description.
Okay.
Um, you'd really like it, I
I should
think.
have to. Yeah, I look forward to the
Yeah,
playlists on
I
it.
keep meaning to. I kept meaning to tell you, but I didn't want to give away the surprise. So, but yeah, listen, I think you'd quite enjoy it. And she's touring later this year, and Lily and Hanny are going to see her again. And I said, "Oh, I might pop up. You're not coming the same day as us, Dad." And I said, "Oh, okay." She's doing 5 nights at Hammersmith. I said, "Well, I might get a ticket for one of the others." And she said, Lily said, "He'll be full of young girls. Try not to look like a pedo." So,
Well, you got your
yeah,
work cut out there.
I, yeah, I'm not wearing my Mac.
No, no.
And I'm not taking any puppies. So yeah, I should get away with it. But yeah, I really would like to see her live. I think it would be really, really good. But
Whereabouts in Hammersmith is she playing then? If she's doing a 5 night residency.
Hammersmith, is it Apollo now? Hammersmith Apollo, yeah.
Oh, well, she must be a lot.
Yeah.
She must be quite a name in music.
She's really big, yeah,
Yeah.
really big.
Okay.
In a kind of a cult way, you know.
Hmm.
But yeah, I really like her. I'm looking for. She's got a new album out later this year, which I think is more along the lines of Preacher's Daughter. But I'll definitely be getting hold of that and have a listen to that. But yeah, so yeah, Ethel
Sounds
Kane
good.
Pearl. Yes, very good, very good.
Okay. Next on my list is by Martina Bertoni, and it's called Electroacoustic Works for Halderophone. Now, the halderophone is an instrument that was invented relatively recently, I think in the last 10 years or so, by an Icelandic artist.
No
Hurrah!
way, no way.
Halldór Ulfason. Again, those darned creative Icelanders. So,
Yes, I know.
halderophone is a bit like an electronic cello, but the instrument is built primarily to optimize positive feedback from the strings and to induce drones. So you get to hear the pluckings of the strings, but then these fabulous deep drones start to well up into wild whirling sound fields. At points, they can overwhelm the transients that are created from the initial pluck of the strings, and it sounds beautiful. But Tony is in fact a cellist, and she's in Berlin, and she, apart from making music, runs lectures in the university there on a number of different fields in music. She does electronic and creative music production, performance, and engineering programs in Berlin. So she's quite the boffin as well as a musician. And she
Interesting.
describes her work as dissolving the boundaries between emotion and architecture, crafting soundscapes where control and resonance become fluid entities. And I couldn't really have said it better than that, because
No.
they are this an otherworldly sound. As far as I can tell, the halderophone is the only instrument on Electroacoustic Works for a halderophone, but for some subtle electronic touches and glitching, which really does complement it absolutely fantastically. So all 4 pieces on the album are pretty lengthy. The shortest one is almost 10 minutes, and the longest just shy of 17. So we'll find one to stick on the playlist. It wouldn't work in any 3 minute chunks, this music. It is music that draws you down and wraps you up in this rhythmic pulsing and mellifluous drifting tones, and it is beautiful, it is intimate, and it is meditative. I think it's
I'll
quite
give it a bash.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll have a listen to that. I think we've pretty much probably lost our any Coldplay fans who are listening by now. And
Yes. When are they going to mention
the,
parachutes?
the casual listeners will be gone. Yes, I should have bunged the latest Little Mix LP in here just to keep it going. But yeah, yes. Well, my number 6 is Benefits.
Right.
Constant Noise.
Yeah.
I love Benefits. I've been rattling on about them for a good couple of years now since I discovered them. At the moment, two guys from Middlesbrough, Kingsley and Robbie, who were in a variety of bands back in the day and have now formed benefits. Kingsley is mainly spoken word, but angry spoken word about the state of the nation. The first LP, Nails, was released a couple of years ago, and was just, as I say, Kingsley's poetry over just swathes of harsh electronic noise. This LP has calmed it down a bit. It's a lot more tuneful, for better word. There's kind of beats. It's almost a dance LP, but with these with Kingsley's words over the top. He's still angry, but you know, not quite as angry as the first LP. Best seen live. I think they are quite a spectacular night out. I saw them. I saw them in the middle of the Nails era when they played the 100 Club in London, and that was something else. And then I saw them doing a launch for this at Rough Trade a few months ago, and that was fabulous. They're really good. They're still doing some of the older stuff, but the live set is mainly from this album, Constant Noise, and it's well worth a listen and a watch. They're playing. I'm hoping to go and see them. They're playing in Bedford at Esquires in the not too distant future. So I'm hoping to catch them there. But yeah, fantastic band, fantastic. There's, like as I say, down to two of them now, with the occasional guest drummer providing blast beats on some of the older stuff. Recently, it's been Neil, the drummer from Therapy. He's been getting involved. When I saw them first time, it was Rick from Ash was guesting on drums.
Wouldn't have put Ash in that category, really.
No, I think he just fancied having a bit of a blast beat session with them. So headed down to London, did a few dates with them. But yes, that's my number 6. Benefits.
Benefits is a bit unusual for me because their evolution of sound doesn't seem to have followed a linear path. You get bands who they start off really noisy and whatever, and then they perhaps progress to a bit mellower, and then they acquire some keyboards, and there's a linear path of evolution. But Benefits, it seems, you do get all the way through their catalogue, you get these blasts of power electronics and shouting tracks, and then some with guitars and drums, and then there's some more of power electronics, and then they go back to drums and stuff. It's kind of like with two bands, and whatever you get is however we feel on the day we're recording.
Well, I think it's more conceptual, to be honest. I think the first one was what was just it was just a howl of anguish, really, at the state of the nation. And I think this time they tried to make it, it's still, there's still anguish there, but I think they made an effort to make it a bit more accessible, because you can only go so far. And I don't think it's necessarily for popularity. I think it's more just to get that message across. I mean, I think they feel that if they are more tuneful, more people are going to hear it and more people are going to listen to it, because it is very much take your country back from everything that's wrong, from I don't want to get too political on this one, just for change.
You end up in a cell with Bob and Bobby.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, and we don't need that, do we? We don't need that. But yeah, so that's number 6, Benefits, Constant Noise.
Excellent. Okay, good one. My number 7 is an album called Mem Baladakan Kesalamatan.
Bless you.
Which is by the fantastic Indonesian duo Senyawa. It translates to Ballads for the Survivors, and it is an album that was produced very much in the mindscape of COVID. So as I say, Senyawa are an Indonesian duo, Rukia Suryadi and Ruli Shibara, and they've been making music for 15 years. And perhaps a bit like I was referring to some degree with Benefits. You know, some of their records are really noisy. The album Alcazar, for example, has almost industrial strength electronics, electric guitar drones, energetic vocals, and so on. But then the record The Prey and The Ruler, which is collaboration with Lawrence English, is far more tranquil and soundscape orientated, with distant, deep chanting wrapped in swirling electronics. Now, Membaladakan Keselamatan is, however, a fully acoustic collection of ballads. There are chants, bits of percussion, and they call them survival hymns, which have been crafted by reworking older records in the context of COVID, that it's about an incantation towards collapse. And that kind of fits with their distaste for the excesses of capitalist consumerism. Suryada has been, in fact, building a temple on land he acquired in Indonesia to halt what he calls the plague of toll roads and supermarkets that blight his homeland. And you really do get, I mean, it's recorded really cleanly, and it's like they're in the room with you, and you feel every ounce of the emotion and the way they feel through these really powerful ballads. And it's fantastic. I mean, as I say, Senyawa are a fantastic band, and I just bought this year on Rainforest Ether Green vinyl, and it's fantastic. Nice. It's fantastic. It sounds beautiful, unless you're listening to it on a 30-year-old jam-stained Amstrad system. Of course, it won't sound beautiful on that. But if you've got a decent system and put it on, they are in the room with you, and it's lovely.
But wouldn't you be worried if they were in the room with you because they've been building a fucking temple in your bloody...
It's not just a temple, it's a flame-spitting temple. I don't quite know what that means.
well, you didn't say flame-spitting, then fuck it. Go ahead, bang that bugger up in the backyard. That sounds like fun. A flame-spitting temple, I'd love one of those. That would be great.
Yes, I don't know if he's finished yet. I'll have to have a look.
Would you need planning permission, do you think?
I don't know. In Indonesia, I would think planning permission is very much as you take it, really.
If I was applying, I'd probably leave the flame spitting bit off, in all honesty. Yeah, it's a temple, mate. There's no flame spitting there. Oh, no, nothing like that. Oh. Yeah.
Oh, dear. Yes. So there, yeah, that's number 7 on my list.
Well, number 7 on my list is... can't bloody say it. Yeah, Civilistyaval and Mesa Jalad, and it's called Marja, the Battle of the Hotels versions. So basically, this was originally an album by a Lebanese singer-songwriter called Mesa Jalad, and it was all about the Lebanese Civil War. And is lovely. I listened to it. I found this first, to be honest, and then I went back and listened to the original. But this has been kind of like dubbed by Civilistyaval, who is a Swedish spin dub musician, and he's just made a dub version of, and it's fantastic. I love it. I was just faffing around on the internet on Boomcat one Friday. I just saw it and I thought, oh, that looks interesting. I'll give it a bash. And I played it and I just fell in love with it. It's just amazing. Huge bass on it, huge, but as you'd expect from a dub LP. But yeah, it's fantastic. I think there was a limited edition on white vinyl. It's available. You can buy it from Boomcat should you wish, and it is on Spotify. And as is the original. The original's really, really good as well. That's kind of a acoustic, but with that's got some drones and synths, etc. Yeah, really, really good. And I think she studies architecture, and it was originally it's based on these buildings, these hotels that were built in Beirut in the 60s, and how they kind of informed the conflict that took place. Yeah, it's quite fascinating.
Hmm.
Just reading about the whole concept of it. But yeah, yeah, very very enjoyable.
Wouldn't you just love to have been able to have walked into Keith's Records and asked for that rather than ordered it
Yes,
over Boomcat?
yes. Keith, do you have Civilis Tiavel and Mesa Jalad? Keith would have gone, let me get my book. Yes, I can get that for you. It'll be here next week. Guarantee he would have got us a copy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
that was my number seven.
Okay. My number eight then is a compilation of album of sorts. It's called Little Annie With, and it's a collection of songs where Little Annie
Oh, yeah,
Anxiety.
any anxiety. I
Yes,
saw that
yes.
on One Little Independent
Okay.
Records, was it on? Or no, is it on
It's Cold Spring.
Cold Spring? That's right,
Yeah, yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I was thinking of the reissue of a single.
no, it's Little Annie Anxiety duetting with a whole raft of musicians, Bonnie Prince Billy, Coyle, Mark Armand. Little Annie began life as Anne Bandez, and she was living in the United States, and she was persuaded to decamp to the UK by none other than Steve Ignorant of Crass, after which she became part of the Crass Collective, performing poetry, working with tapes on stage, and eventually getting her first single release, Barbed Wire Halo, on Crass Records.
Yeah, I remember buying that. I remember buying that from Keith Records.
Keith Records, of course. It is arguably, in my opinion, one of the best non-Crass records that Crass released. I think it's a fantastic demonstration of her avant-garde experimental tape work, and I love it. Very much standing on the shoulders of people like William S. Burroughs, perhaps, but it was nonetheless to young teenagers as we were a bit eye-opening, particularly because it was on Crass Records.
Yeah.
Um, the only time I've seen Annie perform live, she was in a lineup which interestingly included Steve Ignorant's side project at the time, Schwarzenegger,
All right.
who I can't remember at all because I was solely out of it, but I'm sure he was good.
Oh dear.
So I've got it put it on Cold Spring limited edition green vinyl, and there were some great songs on there. I'll be honest, it's not thoroughly fantastic start to finish, but it's got enough good songs on it to make it a good album. Some Things We Do that she sings with Swans, Yesterday When I Was Young with Mark Armand, and perhaps best of all, Isle of Weeping Ladies with Paul Wellfish, which are all fantastic, and they're not the only great songs on there.
Is it more despair and misery?
It's not that exactly, but I think the rich tonality of voice that Little Annie has, that husky, time worn, dare I say, smoky voice, and the arrangements themselves evoke the sense of loss and yearning and to some degree despair. The characters that are created in the music are, people from the underside of society quite often, people who are lost. And I think Tom Waits does it fantastically as well. To tell the kind of stories of people sitting in bars after closing time or close to closing time with a whiskey in one hand and a Marlboro in the other. People perhaps weary of the world.
And my number eight was Catherine Joseph. We Were Made Prey. She's a Scottish singer-songwriter, and this album is has been described as just songs of lust and rage.
Oh.
And it's basically it's piano keyboard led. She's got a wonderful voice. All slow songs. There's no rockers on there, but just marvelous. I hadn't heard of her before. She's had a couple of albums out, and I saw she supported Mogwai at
No.
the gig at Brixton that I was talking about earlier. Just came on, sat at her piano, made lots and lots of really rude jokes, which was fantastic, and interspersed it with some of these songs, which are all basically, as I say, by own admission, mainly about sex. But they're brilliant. She's absolutely fantastic. This came out a couple of months ago, and the first time I listened to it, I was hooked. I thought, yeah, this is really is something else. But yeah, it's great. It's great. A very mellow listen. But yeah, and again, well worth seeing live because she's really funny and she's really really rude as well. And it's kind of like having a female non-ginger Frankie Boyle come on stage and then sing a few songs.
That rude.
You know,
Wow.
really really funny. But yeah, I mean the songs aren't necessarily funny. Just
No.
her personality. She's got a superb personality. She's absolute scream, and she's on signed to Mogwai's label, Rock Action Records. Really good.
Okay, my number nine. I'll keep relatively brief. It's Metal Horse by Billy No Mates.
Oh right, yeah, yeah, she's great. Yeah, she's
Yeah,
great. She is.
she's
Yeah.
good. I mean, to be honest, it's the only album I've got by her. It's her third album, and I can't really compare it to the previous two because I've not heard them. So she was inspired after seeing a performance of the Sleaford Mods, and ended up
Yes, that's right. She
touring,
she played
performing.
Glastonbury, didn't she? I think she did.
Yeah, she played Nottingham. She played Nottingham supporting
She
them.
did Glastonbury and did a set at Glastonbury, but she had a pre-recorded track, and she got lots and lots of stick for it. I watched it on TV, and I thought she was fantastic. But the usual social media wankers got onto it and said, "Oh, she's fucking miming," and it wasn't. She just happened. I mean, she's a one-person band.
Yeah.
You know, she can't. She's not going to have fucking cymbals between her knees smashing together a bloody drum on her back, is she?
Although she has got some
So
musicians with her now.
yeah, well, they took offence to the fact that she'd done that, and to social media's credit, they did get behind her and said, "Stop listening to wankers,"
Yeah.
which is always sage advice.
That's not an excuse for people listening to this podcast to switch off, by the way.
Yeah, we're more dickheads than wankers, though. So
Yeah, it's a fine line of distinction, but an important one. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, there she is. It's a good album. Some great tracks on it. I think the single "The Test" is a really good track, and it's well worth a listen. I don't know if you know, but she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis last year.
oh, really? Oh
Yeah,
no,
I
I
didn't
didn't know
know that.
that.
No, no,
No,
very sad.
no. I haven't listened to it. I'll be honest, I should really listen to it. I think I just overlooked him on one of my Friday listening to new music days. And I just hadn't got around to it. But I'll definitely give it a listen because I do think she's fantastic.
One of the interesting things is in the record notes, in the sleeve notes, she gives thanks, as musicians do, to a number of people, one of which is Steve Albini.
Oh right.
So now I think Steve Albini has been mentioned in all of our podcasts so far.
And so he should be. So he should be. Top chap. Top chap. So that was your number
That was my
nine.
number nine.
My number nine is Death in Vegas, Death Mask.
Oh,
I kind of, I really like Death in Vegas, but I did find some of the, I don't know. There's something about it. I always got put off. They did a collaboration song with Iggy Pop, and I hated it. It got on my nerves, and I don't know why. And recently I'd kind of managed to get hold of a couple of their early CDs, but got some like deluxe editions with extra discs with remixes and whatnot because there was a couple of tracks I'd heard that kind of got me back into interested in them.
okay.
And because Death in Vegas is Richard Fearless, and they've been going since like the heady days of Big Beat, really, isn't it? Back in the 90s with around the time of Skint Records and Fatboy Slim and
Yeah, I'm not terribly au fait with them. I'll be honest. I don't know much about them.
well, this you'd probably like this because it is very very distorted techno
Okay.
bangers, and it's kind of along the lines of Sandwell District and the like.
Okay.
Not exact, but if you take that as a starting point, it's a lot. more grimy than the stuff. I don't mean like grime, the music. I mean, it just
Yeah.
sounds a lot more dirty and distorted. And
Okay.
I was really, I kind of listened to it a couple of times and thought, I think I like this, and gave it a few more listens, and I'm totally besotted with it now. I think it's a great album. I mean, there's some real noisy stuff. There's nothing clean and shiny about it. You know, it is proper gritty, bassy, loud techno, but with kind of some hints of dark ambient in there as well. Proper, real good mishmash of things. Yeah, well, I'd totally recommend it. It's another one I'd probably, if I was going to share it with someone, I'd send you a link on a Spotify link. Well, I would now because you've got bloody Spotify. But yeah, I think you'd really, I think it's right up your street
Yeah,
actually.
sounds good.
Yeah, it's
Sounds
really
good.
good. Yes, that
So
was.
many bloody good musics out there to listen to. There's
Do you know, there is. I get really fucking annoyed with people of our age going, "Oh, there's no good bloody music anymore," because
you
it's
look for
such
it.
bollocks. There is so much. It just takes a little bit of effort on your part to find it and listen to it, and it's so easy to listen to everything now. You know,
Yeah.
like we've said previously. You know, you don't have to go down to Keith's Records and say, "Keith, have you got this?" and stand there and listen to it on a pair of bloody headphones. You
Yeah.
know, you've got access to all the music in the world, and all the new music in the world is coming to you, for like a tenner a month if you've got Spotify. And I know Spotify's business practices are shit, etc. But if you do want to listen to lots and lots of music, it's unavoidable, unfortunately.
Coming out as you get older, a lot of people seem to forget there's new music coming out that's not in the charts, and they seem to
Yeah, yeah,
think that
totally, yeah,
there's only old bands and the charts,
yeah.
and that's neither of is anywhere near true.
I haven't listened. I have no idea what's in the charts,
No,
and I
I,
don't really want to know. I haven't listened to the charts in years. I think I always enjoyed the concept of the charts, but now you've included MP3s. It's so easy to manipulate it. You know, when you've got a new Ed Sheeran album and every fucking track from the album is in the top 20 of what's the point?
what's the point of Ed
What's the point?
Sheeran? Can I say?
Yeah, yeah. Weirdly, I saw Ed Sheeran the other day. I went to see Olivia Rodrigo at
Oh,
British
right.
Summertime, and because I volunteer there every now and again, and you get to see headliners, and the girls were going, so I kind of went along and managed to get them like VIP passes. Um, and Ed Sheeran came on as a special guest.
Oh, right.
This is the other thing. I mean, uh, old people such as us just oh bloody Olivia Rodrigo, it's rubbish, and it's not. I think she's great. The girls introduced me to her. She's like probably. I mean, I do her a disservice, but she's like Avril Lavigne for this generation. It's like pop punk. It's really good pop punk for tweeny girls and older. I mean, that sounds like I'm doing a disservice as well, but it's not. All and 60-year-old men who who get introduced to music by their daughters. Um, I think she's fucking great. I think she's great. I mean, to be honest, she's quite the activist as well. She's a big advocate for Planned Parenthood in the US and has picked up awards. Uh, for her support. She's and also, I mean, not a very big fan of the Trump administration either. And just played Glastonbury and brought Robert Smith on for two songs and described one of England's greatest ever songwriters, which I would have to agree with. I mean, we're both big Cure fans.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and she did a duet of Friday I'm in Love and Just Like Heaven.
Oh,
And
how about that?
doing shots with him backstage, which was even more endearing. Um,
She
so
headlined
yeah,
Glastonbury, didn't she? Is that the same one?
yes, yeah, and brought on Robert Smith. It was
Oh, I didn't see
fabulous.
that.
Yeah,
I turned her off
yeah,
because I didn't know much about her, and I thought, well, I'll have a look. And I thought the opening bit was good. It was all noisy electronic stuff, um, and then I kind of felt in my limited worldview that it went downhill from there. So I only watched about 10 minutes after that, and then
Yeah,
switched
it was.
off.
It's very pop punk, and it's good, and she's so endearing. She just seems like a genuinely nice person as well. I think she really does care about her fans, and yeah, I am a fan. I'm a
You
fan
are a fan.
of Olivia Rodrigo. I'm proud to say it. So yeah, so fuck off everyone who thinks that's a bad thing.
Did you watch very much of Glastonbury or any?
I did. I watched a fair bit. I obviously I watched Kneecap.
Yeah.
I do really like Kneecap. I think they're great fun. Weirdly, they were when I saw benefits at the 100 Club. Was it last year or the year before? I think it was the year before. And he had a guy called Mel Streak supporting, who's another Irish kind of probably a noisy rapper, you know, and they seem to have good support acts. And I just looked through a couple of the other bands who'd supported them, and I saw Kneecap there and listened to them. This is when they had a few tracks on Spotify, and I thought they were great fun, really funny. And then they've just kind of took off now. So I enjoyed them. I watched English Teacher. I watched Neil Young. A couple of others. I can't actually remember what I did watch now. So anyway, final one, number 10. We're finally there.
Yeah.
Apologies to everyone for the length of this podcast, but
Don't worry, you'll
they
get
just
it.
waffle on.
So number 10 is an album called Live at Le Guess Who by Abel Mogard and Raphael Anton Irisari. Now, Raphael Anton Irisari is simply a fucking genius. I love his stuff, and to the extent that I've got around 25 of his albums. He's brilliant. He's brilliant. He's a multi-talented instrumentalist composer from New York who builds these fabulous electronic soundscapes by extensively processing field sounds through processors, quite often processors that he's built. And when he does it live, he does it in real time. So it's not let's play a digital file or a tape of something I did earlier. It's let's work that process with the audience, and it's brilliant. And so he's a prolific collaborator. He's worked with other greats like Andrea Belfi and Echo Space, Lawrence English, all fantastic. But he really is the master. And he's created with Abel Mogard this time, who's a Serbian composer, this wonderful recording that was actually recorded in a church in Utrecht, and it's part of the Le Guess Who festival from last year. And you got Irisari bowing guitar and Mogad bringing electronics into a combination that together, you can feel the vast chasm of the church filling with sound slowly as it gradually grows and builds into a big hurricane of electronic noise. It's like a massive whale coming up from the dark depths to the brightness of the surface. It's a great album, really moving, really emotional experience, and it's all one piece. There are four discrete tracks on there, but they don't come across like that on the record. It's all just continuous, and again, you couldn't break it up. It's just one movement of excellence.
So probably not going to make it on the Spotify.
Well, yeah. I think I saw it on the
this
digital.
Is really good. Apart from that 2-hour track at the end, Dave. You twat. Yeah. So when you say like a whale, did you mean like a
no, like a humpback whale coming up because
right.
It's such a big, deep sound, and it's coming up slowly and slowly from the depths. And this church has got such a space; it's so reverberant that it's a huge sound, but it's not a huge sound like power electronics, which is breaking your head.
Yeah, fair play. So was that a simile or metaphor? I can never bloody work out which is which.
We're not going to get into grammar, for goodness sake.
Yeah, English was never my forte, obviously. Well, my final pick is Stone Circle Sampler and Travis Elborough, The World of the Unknown Hauntology.
Oh, hauntology, right.
Yeah, well, basically, this is a guy called Luke J. Murray from London. Travis Elba is an author and collaborates with Luke J. Murray, and Travis kind of does spoken word, and but Luke records under all manner of different pseudonyms. This particular one, Stone Circle Sampler, is his most, I won't say his most popular, but his most prolific. I've really tried hard to work out how to describe it. It's really tricky. This was a mix of previous Stone Circle Sampler releases, and it was he mixed it for the Wire magazine.
Oh, right.
In fact, I'm pretty sure I sent you a copy of it, and you probably went, "Oh, fuck, I'm not listening to that." Dave sent it. But this is
Oh.
described as a hauntological blend of washed out ambient dub and grime, threaded together with samples from horror films and TV. Basically that's he's done so many different things, and it's just marvelous. I mean, it's these TV themes that he's done a couple of TV idents, old ones, and you recognise them, but they're so wobbly. He's kind of morphed them into something a bit otherworldly, and there's repetition, and also there's ambient synths in there. There's field recordings. There's like thunderstorms. There's people walking on gravel. Just but put together, it's amazing. Especially in this mix, and that's why this is my favorite. It's come out. There was a very limited cassette. Everything he does comes out on cassette. He also records under. He does Superior London Pulp, Liquid D&B like ambient grime. Rainfall widens the cracks. Widens the cracks in the concrete. They're kind of some of the pseudonyms, and it ranges from like kind of distorted drum and bass and grime to there's one cassette he did was compiled but completely made up of the ambient noise between conversations in the film The Wicker Man. It's absolutely bonkers, but it's just fabulous. You have to listen to it in these. They come in like 15-20 minute cassettes, and you just put it on and you just drift off. I absolutely love it. And weirdly, I found that I've tried not to mention this while we've been talking, but I got diagnosed with ADHD, and I find that it's one of the things I can put it on and it just relaxes my mind. My mind just never stops. But this is one of the only types of music that I found that relaxes my mind. It's fantastic. And he's brilliant. And as I say, everything comes out. He's only available on Bandcamp, the majority of it, under Stone Circle Sampler. They come out in very, very limited cassettes. I've got a few, but I'm missing loads. So if Luke J. Murray does happen to listen to this, and wants to send me some of the ones I'm missing.
That's twice you've tried that tonight.
I know. Well, you've got to take advantage, haven't you? Really. But I'm a huge Stone Circle Sampler fan, and everything he does is different. I've got to be honest. Like a lot of the things that we've mentioned, it's not for everybody. And I think it's when we do these things, I think it's not. I mean describing the music is all important, because people are going to say like oh, they're so bloody they listen to this obscure stuff, but it's only obscure because because you haven't heard it. Go and find these things, and as much as we wank on about them and say, oh yeah, it's this and this, if you had to listen to it, you might like it. I think that's the important thing. It's just not to be scared of music because you don't think you're going to like it. Give it a listen, even if it's just for like 5 or 10 minutes, and that's how we got to where we are.
Well, that's it. I mean,
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, really.
That's a good thing. I mean, there's nothing pretentious about this, because you can listen to this and say, well, these two pair of old dossers are trying to impress everybody because they've got the most obscure records that are possibly imaginable. But like you say, they're only obscure because people haven't looked for them and found them. And
absolutely,
a lot of them you find through listening to something else that you found through listening to something else. You find follow
Yeah.
trails, as it were,
Oh,
and
totally.
you come into these places, these dark alleys, these caves, and find something spectacular.
It's because I think it's that obsession of ours with hearing everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, and you have to remember that one of these 60-year-old dossers has just professed his love for Olivia Rodrigo. So we listen to everything, and I'm perfectly happy to admit to liking, to things like that as much as I am to trying to get you to appreciate benefits and Ethel Kane or any of the other or Stone Circle Sampler. Uh, we have musical taste, but I think we have quite broad musical taste.
We do have broad musical
You
taste,
know,
but when you look at our favourite records for the first 6 months of this year, I don't know if many people would say, "Oh, well, these were obviously MDC and Crass fans back in the day."
oh, totally not. No,
There's not a
no.
lot that connects the two, perhaps. I mean, and maybe if you sat back and thought about it long and hard enough, you would find connections in the outsiderness and the aesthetic and so on. Musically, they're very
Yeah,
different, but there
I
might
think
well be something that's similar.
you could do a seven, the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon thing. You could do that with, you could probably do that with any of the music really that we listen to. I
Yeah,
mean, we do listen to a lot, and we do know of a lot of bands, so it would probably be easier,
yeah.
relatively easy for us. But I mean, we had discussed actually. I mean, we have discussed doing an episode of the things we were. I mean, I hate to call it guilty pleasures because I don't feel any guilt in listening to
No,
anything.
no.
But something along those lines of things you probably wouldn't expect us to listen to. Okay, so right, so the next one we'll get the next one done next week, and we will see everybody. Keep the comments coming in on. There's now an Instagram page. There is Instagram. There is X. There is Facebook. I will try. I'm not particularly brilliant at Instagram. It befuddles me, but I will try and add some bits and bobs to that.
The way you're going with all of this social media, all these different platforms, we can have one platform for each of our followers.
Yes, I think we probably could. Yeah, and probably one spare as well. So, yes, goodbye, fair listener.
Until next time, bye bye.